The city's gone to court today to get a court hearing on Monday to ask a judge to say campers need to go.
So how did it come to this?
Well, we just think that with the rain coming and the deterioration and the conditions and safety, and we think we've got some housing options that make some sense. They may not be what everyone thinks is perfect, but we think all the information's there. So
which housing? You talking about the shelter?
Shelter, and then we got a hotel.
I'm at the shelter, okay? You can't even take a shower there.
My name is L.J. Meyer. I'm a filmmaker with an interest in social issues. In 2014, I filmed a homeless camp in Oppenheimer Park in Vancouver. It got me wondering about the potential benefits of these tent cities.
A general community making decisions is not good enough. We need clear leaders. We are the marginalized.
Living in a homeless camp is definitely rough.
And I'm getting told like my partner can't be here because he's Spanish.
I wondered how the camp could go on.
But we have no choice. In order to get somewhere, we have to. Otherwise, we're going to be here forever. And I don't want to be here forever.
However, the camp had some positives as well. It provided emergency shelter for over 400 people. The difference that the camp made in people's health and quality of life was obvious.
Make me a pallet on your floor. Make me a pallet on your floor.
And there was a kitchen that fed hundreds.
My auntie Corey was actually involved with this, and I was planning on staying with her. And she was staying down here, so I just finished my job working on a cruise ship, so I had free time, so I thought, why not lend a hand?
Make me a pallet on the floor.
You need to be clear on a few things that are coming up.
The Aboriginal activists who organized the camp encouraged a sense of community by setting up a sacred fire and a longhouse where people could gather and talk. I saw lives changed.
And Lord knows that I spent 22 years in this neighborhood making a mess in this park. Somebody cleaned up after me. So I'm going to clean up after my brothers and just be grateful that I have the opportunity to do it.
I wondered what would happen if the city worked with these camps and tried to help them rather than shut them down all the time.
We require you to exit your tent. Do you understand? Will you exit your tent?
In the 2014 municipal election, the Green Party and the Coalition of Progressive Electors took stands in favor of helping homeless camps.
Make me a pallet on your floor.
They said that Dignity Village in Portland was an example that we should follow.
Make it soft, make it low, so my good gal won't know.
So I decided that I had to see Dignity Village for myself.
Make me a pallet on your floor.
To our knowledge, we are the only self-supporting, self-governing, city-sanctioned homeless community in the world. I'm Lisa Larson. I'm the CEO of Dignity Village, and I've lived here for about 6 years. We can have up to 60 people here at any given time, and then an additional 10 in our commons for a warming shelter. We sit on about 2 acres of land, just a little less.
So you've got 47 units?
43 units, actually. And then we have our other buildings. Our guard shack is manned 24 hours a day. Our computer room sits behind it, and we've got 3 internet-accessible computers. We have our common room, which is our meeting room, our family room, our living room, our TV room. It's kind of our partial kitchen. It's got hot plates and microwaves. It's also our warming shelter for the additional 10 people we can hold during the extreme cold. Got our showers. Some of us have little heaters that we take in with us, but still that concrete in there is cold.
I couldn't help but notice the beautiful artwork on the sides of the buildings.
That painting over there was done by some taggers. A gentleman had the desire to build a greenhouse in every country of the world, and this is the United States' greenhouse. The windows in the greenhouse were painted by the kids who built it. Themed as transitions in life is what the kids were supposed to paint, and like all artwork, some of it I understand and some of it I don't. But as of right now, we are deemed as a temporary transitional campground. It took us about 6 weeks to get in, and we've been here for 6 years. And it's changed our life. There is a true sense of community here. But there's times we don't like each other. There's times we fight, we bicker, we scream and yell. But when it all comes down to it, people care. The husband and I had a fire in our structure, but before the firemen left, we had a place to sleep, we had pillows, we had blankets, we had clothes, we had food, and half the people were out looking for our cat that was in the fire at the time. People truly cared. It's been almost 3 years now since it happened. It still gives me goosebumps that the village actually stepped in and took care of us.
I discovered that there was another camp in the heart of downtown Portland. It was called Right to Dream 2, or R2D2 for short. I got a tour from its founder, Ibrahim Mubarak.
In 4 years, going on 5 years, this October will be 5 years, 295 people have found housing, 285 have found work. We have 17 women keep their babies, 35 people stop using drugs, and about 26 are doing online education, whether they getting a high school or college degree. And last year we had 2 people to graduate from college. And that's all because they can get sleep and it builds a community where people can help one another. This is the membership area. Okay, they have their own personal place here where you got couples in tents, single people in tents, people with their pets. And we cater to the whole houseless community. You can peek in there and see how Joanna's ready.
Unlike Dignity Village, R2D2 was mainly tents, and it had an amazing amount of emergency shelter space.
This here is where all the single men sleep. And as you can see, we have numbers. We go up to 39 people. Some houseless people do work, but they work at night. And when they get off of work, there's no shelters or missions open. So we have 3 increments and we open 24 hours. This is our security area. They log people in and log people out like Mike just did. People were just walking in here, and so we needed a perimeter. People wanted to put bushes, they wanted to put barbed wire fences. I said, no, put doors are opportunity. And we're looking for something to generate money because we get no money from the government. This is all us doing. You can come advertise on our door for $100 a year. You can put anything you want, long as it's not lewd and it had to do something with homelessness. We have a souvenir shop right here. These are the shirts that we sell. We pay for our own liability insurance. We pay for our own water bill, our own electric, our own porta potties getting dumped, our own recycling, and our own dumpster. It costs the city nothing.
I heard that there were some interesting homeless camps in Eugene, Oregon, so I went to have a look.
These blues is everywhere I see it. These blues is everywhere I see it. Blues all around me, everywhere I see it. Nobody's got the blues like me.
My name is Andrew Heaven, so I'm the project director of Square One Villages and also the author of Tent City Urbanism. So yeah, it started as a thesis project and has since turned into a book. I started by visiting a number of camps throughout the U.S. I found some positive social dynamics that were going on in those camps, such as self-management, direct democracy, tolerance, and resourcefulness. And so I looked at how can we preserve some of these positive dynamics that are occurring in these camps rather than simply evicting and dispersing these people. The natural idea from that then is transitioning from the camp with the tent to the tiny house. The primary contribution from the city is the land, so they lease us this land for $1 a year. We use the standard dimensions of lumber to reduce waste, so we take a 4x8 sheet of plywood and frame that with 2x4s, insulate it, and then have interior paneling. So you basically have these 4x8 panels pre-manufactured in our shop, and then those can be assembled into one of these 8x8 or 8x10 structures we have here. And we have a contractor that works with us to provide oversight. Our utility hookups are consolidated to our common facilities, so the individual units kind of act as detached bedrooms. And then we have a common kitchen facility, a common bathroom facility, and a common living room. And that really allowed us to reduce development costs. We opened in August 2013. We have 30 units, have about 35 people here at a time. And we have an operating agreement with the city of Eugene, basically outlines the details of how we have to operate the project, but it's largely self-managed by the folks that live here. There's a 7-person council that's elected to oversee the day-to-day management, and there's a weekly village meeting where you can vote on policy and talk about how to address issues in the village and make improvements. And then we have a nonprofit organization known as Square One Villages, which I'm the project director for, and we basically provide oversight to the village and make sure that the decisions that they're making are within the operating agreement with the city of Eugene. So we estimate it takes about $3 a night per person to run this, so it's actually a very cost-effective solution. The residents here pay $30 a month towards the utility fee, so one of those $3 is covered by the residents, and then the other $2 is covered by our nonprofit, currently through fundraising. And those people without an income can help with fundraising efforts or the likes. We've had 90 people stay since opening in August 2013, so that's about 2.5 years. We've had about 60 people transition out. It's about 2 to 1 in terms of 2 people going to permanent housing versus 1 being asked to leave for rules violations. The average affordable housing unit is costing upwards of $150,000 here in the States. And those are great units and we need more of them, but if we look at the supply of funding and the historical supply of funding, and then we look at the demand for these units, we're never going to build ourselves out of this problem, doing things the way that we've been doing it. So we're trying to come up with some alternative models for kind of bridging that gap between the street and traditional shelter models. And so I think Opportunity Village kind of offers that first step up.
I saw these interesting little huts in Opportunity Village and around Eugene. They were called Conestoga Huts and were made by community-supported shelters. I talked to Eric DeBurg, the guy who developed these huts, to find out more about them.
We started community-supported shelters only constructing the Conestoga Huts. Really, before that, we were making huts, but it was for a different reason, but it was always to provide an alternative to the conventional form of shelter, like an alternative to an apartment, an alternative to a house. We just believe in the hut life. It's our lifestyle. A lot of people were coming to us and saying, well, what about building something for the homeless? And then it was during the Occupy movement when homelessness really, in our area, became center stage. We decided, okay, it's time to design something that's quick to build, that's inexpensive to buy, and that's effective for keeping people out of the elements. And that's when we started prototyping the Conestoga Hut. And the first Conestoga Hut was at an Occupy village. After that, we built one for ourselves, which was a prototype, and then it grew from there. People wanted it to make it a little bigger, they wanted a little bit of adjustments, and so we kind of worked with everybody involved to make what it is now.
We're Gary and Sherry Newman, and we've been living here. It'll be 2 years this March, and we are blessed to be here. We were under a bridge. This Conestoga Hut makes it so much easier. It's very comfortable. You can fix them up the way you want to. You can put posters up. We would have had real tiny and real cute if we would have known you were coming, but we didn't know till like 5 minutes before you got here.
You know, the need has just grown for safe places for people to sleep and legal places. For people who have been on the streets and have ever had their stuff stolen, it offers a huge psychological benefit knowing that when they step away from their belongings that they don't have to be worried about what they're going to come back to. Where the security comes from is having a fence around you and somebody always on gate making sure that the people coming into that camp are people who live there.
So how much does it cost to build one of these huts?
We charge $2,500 for one hut, which that includes a heater, smoke and carbon monoxide alarm, curtain rod, curtain, bed frame, mattress. So there's the hut and then a lot of accessories that come with the hut that are included in that $2,500.
Okay, the camps are inexpensive and effective at getting people off the street. But how do we do this in Vancouver? Surely it will not be easy. But it will not be rocket science either. We can ask the advice of successful camps in the US and Canada. How could we start a program like this in Vancouver, for example?
I would say start small and really connect with the people who are experiencing homelessness, or the people who really are the advocates of the people who are experiencing homelessness, and get them involved, because it's not as simple as just building a shelter and saying, here, fill it. It really takes relationship building. And so the first step for us is always build relationships and be willing to take some risks. But I guess we have a pretty bold city council. I mean, not all the city council members were really in support of this, but most of them were. This program was a risk for the city. And since they've taken the risk, they say, wow, we had no idea that something like this was possible. So it took them taking that risk to learn about something that is really helpful.
I think my book, Tent City Urbanism, is kind of a good starting point in terms of it provides a narrative of how we got here. It starts with the tent city. This isn't a unique idea, and I don't by any means want to take credit for it. Dignity Village in Portland did this back in 2001. And people in Seattle have done it, and other parts of the country have done it as well. It's kind of I think a common sense idea of taking people that have tents and allow them to create something of some modest stability and put a house there. You go to squareonevillages.org. We have a resources section that basically provides all the key documents. So that operating agreement I was talking about earlier, you can get online and you can look at that agreement. Everybody has this idea to create tiny houses for the homeless, but I think they kind of get hung up in some of the technical details and working with their city officials. You have your advocates and your city officials, and they're almost speaking two different languages a lot of times. So I think something that we can do is kind of bridge that gap.
We can also talk to people in camps in Vancouver.
I can live in a tent, really comfortable, as long as I have electricity, toilet, bathroom, fresh water, a place to cook some food, and a place to sit and relax every once in a while.
The camp on Hastings Street did not appear to have room for any common areas. Common areas are important. They are where people can dry out and get warm, get an education, and build a community. And don't underestimate the importance of music and art.
We had all these rocks, I had all this paint. I wanted to do something beautiful for the garden. I've been doing artwork since I was 5 years old. It's fun. I love to do it. It gives me something to do, and I just love to create. I did that one for my daughter, Kindy. She was killed in a car wreck almost 3 years ago.
Spaces like this, I think, would be really beneficial for people who are homeless if you could just come and set up a tent, have certain rules that we follow, just like all the other places have rules.
All the camps I visited had rules and processes for enforcing them. However, the rules were not imposed on the camps in a top-down fashion. The camp members themselves had a say in what the rules were and helped enforce them.
Eric, the director, and the organization of community-supported shelters and the people in the camp, we've tried lots of different rules, and we've gotten to the point where we just have the rules that work.
A lot of the times camps will suggest, I think we need this rule so this goes smoother. And we started off with some really basic rules, and over the couple of years that we've been doing this, with the help of the residents themselves, we have made other rules based upon what their needs are to run a camp that minimizes stressful experiences.
What you'll find is once you have any gathering of people of a certain size, or you always have people that are interested in protecting their home, people will hold other people accountable that are breaking those rules. And so we have had evictions. We try to find alternative solutions first, but there's some people that just don't make it in a community environment.
But how can we have sanctioned camps in Vancouver when we have a housing crisis and no vacant land? All cities, including Vancouver, have land around airports, railways, and in industrial areas. Dignity Village was located next to an airport.
The airport, I don't have a problem with. Where Scott and I were camping, we were staying right next to a railroad track, and that was even noisier. So the planes, I find them exhilarating, and especially when the jets take off, the fighter jets, they're really cool to watch.
This camp in Eugene was next to railway tracks. Did they disturb the camp very much?
You really get used to them. They do once in a while, but the engineers are pretty clued in about not sounding their horn right when they go by.
We could also tuck small camps in various places around our neighborhoods. In Eugene, churches and other organizations sponsor small camps.
The smaller safe spots are host sites, mainly churches. Primarily, there's maybe one business and one nonprofit organization that participate in that.
We may be able to find churches and organizations willing to sponsor small homeless camps in Vancouver.
These blues is everywhere I see. These blues is everywhere I see.
With homeless camps popping up all over the place, why should we help the homeless rather than drive them out?
Nobody's got the blues like me. Make me a pallet on your floor. Make me a pallet on your floor.
I will let Eric DeBurr explain.
They haven't always been homeless. Some of them have had careers. Some of them have worked hard their whole life. Some of them have mental disabilities that really prevent them from being able to make it in society. The situations are endless on why somebody's homeless.
My tax dollars have supported this in my 30 years of working, and I tried to help and donate and thought about people who were in this situation, and now here I am in that situation going, whoa.
We're making a lifestyle that collectively it improves people's lives. If you're receiving, you're inspired to give back.
We'd like to give back to the community. We work on the work crews and help around the camp. My husband's a groundskeeper.
If you're giving, who knows when you might need to receive.
The only way I can get out of this is I have to work. I have to drive my way out of it. And until I can drive, I have to stabilize my life. Stabilizing my life is stabilizing where I sleep at night.
That's the first step, man. The first step, because if you don't have that stable place,
if you don't have that stable place,
forget it.
You're the stray cat that just wanders all day until his little paws are just worn out.
Right.
And my little paws are worn out.
Well, I'm glad you ended up coming here. Welcome here.
Eric?
Yeah.
Make me a pallet on your floor. Make me a pallet on your floor. Make it soft, make it low, so my good gal won't know. Make me a pallet on your floor. Make me a pallet on your